Now, here's the really interesting part, and this is the key idea in this world of information density. If you go to Google and you search for how to open wine with your shoe, you'll find 6 videos. 5 other videos and Stevens. The other 5 videos were made before Stevens. The most views any of those videos received was 1,000. Stephen had 13 million. What is the difference? It's the phone. Hello? Google is the phone number today, isn't it? Thank you for that lead-in. So people are Googling their questions. Help me, help me. So the difference was that this wasn't a parlor trick. This wasn't a video showing, hey, look what I just learned how to do. This was chapter 222 in a story about his life and his business. He had worked for 3 years to nurture an audience that ignites. We'll talk about this in a minute. I call this the alpha audience, the people who are going to share your content. This is the bedrock of your business. Do you know who they are? Do you know who they are by name? So this suggests we need to start learning about how content ignites. It's strategically important. It's economically important. But first, the bad news. Most people don't share content. Twitter tells us people only retweet 1 out of every 318 tweets that they see. Facebook might even be worse. Facebook tells us that all these fans following you on Facebook, 1/2 of 1% shares content. So this is an elite group of people, and we need to start understanding why. What gets them to move that content for us? There's a lot of reasons. We're going to talk about 3 big ones. Number 1, people share content to be cool. That's the bottom line. They want to look smart. They want to look relevant. They want to look hip. They want to look funny. So they're sharing content that supports their brand identity. It's just like they wear certain clothes or play certain songs. Sharing content is the same thing. The second major reason is just an act of generosity and kindness. There are not a lot of ways that we can help the world in some little way every day today. Sharing content is one of those ways. You see something and you say, oh, this could help my mother. I need to share this content. Oh, this cheered me up today. I want to share this with my friends. Now, before I get to the third reason, I want to make an observation here. That the reasons that people are sharing content are intrinsic and emotional. There's an emotional connection to our content and our brand. But what are most businesses trying to do? They're trying to get people to share their content for economic reasons. That's the wrong reason. It doesn't work. So what are we turning to? Advertising, distribution, promotion, SEO. There are places for that. Absolutely there are. But the way promotion, advertising, and SEO, it works differently now. And we have to think about how does this work hand in hand with a strategy to get people to ignite content. Because here is a truth. You can trick people into clicking a link. You can't trick them into sharing the content. It's still going to be that emotional and intrinsic reason. There's no shortcut. You've got to find ways to create content that creates some emotional connection between you, the content, and your customers. Let me give you an example of this. This is the third reason why people share content. And I think it's so interesting that sometimes people share content for a reason that has nothing to do with the content. The content almost doesn't matter. There are certain brands out there that transcend content, transcends SEO, advertising, social media. People share their content because they love that company. They love that person, or they love that brand. Let me give you an example. When I started creating content, I started blogging about 7 years ago. And when I was starting out, I was terrible. Nobody was reading my content, let alone sharing or commenting on it. So I started studying who's out there that I could learn from. And I found this guy named Chris Brogan, a pioneering blogger. So I studied him, and one day I found a blog post that just simply blew my mind. And for your edification and entertainment today, I'm going to read you the whole blog post. All right? You're going, check please. No, I'm serious. Here it is. If you're going to speak to people, speak to, or even better with them. Don't look at your slides, read your slides, and tell me what's on your slides. I know how to read. Stop it, okay? The irony is not lost on me that I just read my slides. But here's what made this interesting. This was not epic content. If I told you this advice today, you'd probably roll your eyes. This was 37 words long. It was tweeted 400 times. It had more tweets than my little old blog had received in a year. It received comments from 55 different people saying, "This is awesome. This is brilliant!" Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. And I'm going to go way out on a limb here. This was not brilliant. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. What happened? People shared this content not because of the content, but because of who he was. He is not just a brand. Everybody in this room has a personal brand. Every company we work for has a brand identity, but not everybody has a heroic brand. So as I was studying this and making these observations, I wrote this book called The Content Code. I wanted to figure out what are the things that we can do in this era of information density. And I found there are 6 strategies. We don't have time to talk about all of them today, but I'm going to talk about the first 2. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this importance of brand. We're going to talk a little bit more about audience. As I said, there is a role for distribution, advertising, promotion, SEO. Site authority also is more important than ever in this environment. Social proof and social signals, and the shareability of the content. Now, if you're really paying attention, and I know that you are, you will see that if you take the first letter of each of these, it spells badass. And when I realized I had done this, I knew right then this was the greatest achievement of my personal and professional life. I had literally created a badass strategy. I thought about retirement. So let's look at a couple of these a little more closely. In this era of content density, your brand is more important than ever. This emotional connection that you have, it's more important than ever. So we talked about this idea of the heroic brand. I interviewed 50 different people, actually more than 50 people, who were creating this heroic brand online. How many people have heard of Bethany Mota? Maybe just 10 or so. Bethany was recently named one of the 30 most influential people on the internet. She's 19 years old. And when she was 13, she was bullied in junior high. And to soothe herself, she would go to her room and she would watch YouTube videos. And she decided she wanted to try this for herself. And she became very, very good at it. She has a message where she supports young people. She just has a message of love and empowerment. And now she's singing and doing art. And she was recently hired to be the spokesperson for the Aeropostale brand. And she's designing clothes for them. And every time her design hits the floor, she sells out. So I got to meet her last year. And she was telling me about the experiences she has with brands. She said, I've had good experiences and bad experiences. She said, with Aeropostale, she said, I don't wear their clothes all the time. Why would I do that? And I'm thinking, because they're paying you. And she said, if I wore their clothes all the time, my fans would know something was wrong. And I mean, she just taught me such a lesson right there. I mean, she's an amazing young woman. But she's right. You have to be the same. You have to be congruent. Everywhere you go, every place you show up, you've got a message for your brand and you've got to be congruent. Now, this guy, you wanted to take a picture there. See, I turned that right back for you. See? I'm a full-service public speaker. Now, here's a guy, Keith Urban. He did not return my phone calls. But he did inspire me when I wrote the book, because I went to this Keith Urban concert. Before I went to the concert, I couldn't name one Keith Urban song. But my wife wanted to go, and my job was to be a dutiful husband. So I went to the Keith Urban concert. And he put on a great show. He played for 2 hours, played all of his hits. He played until he had nothing left. Then he played for another 40 minutes. And as the lights came up on the arena and everybody was streaming out, I turned back to the stage. He was sitting on the end of the stage signing autographs. And I just thought, this guy is giving everything. This is how he is standing out in probably the most competitive space there is. He goes above and beyond, and if you expect something here, he gives it to you there. And he inspired me, because I thought, that's what I need to do too. I need to surprise people. I need to delight people. I was talking to a bank the other day, and the bank was talking about. I was talking about how they need to know who is in their audience that's sharing their content. Who are these special people? And the bank looked at me and said, "You don't understand. We have 10,000 followers on Twitter. How could we possibly know who these people are?" I said, "Taylor Swift does it. She's got 5 trillion followers. And she's famous for doing Christmas presents. YouTube videos, she's wrapping Christmas presents. If Taylor Swift can do it, you can do it." And this light bulb went off. And they wrote that down, and that's become their marketing strategy now. If Taylor Swift can do it, we can do it too. The last idea comes from this entrepreneur. Her name is Ann Handley. She's a founder of a company called Marketing Profs. And one of the themes I heard from these heroic brands was, she said, being a heroic brand on the internet starts with elevating others. That was a theme I hear a lot. It's especially important to millennials. They want to know you stand for something other than selling something. And if you look at some of the most important companies today, if you look at the advertising on the Super Bowl the last few years, the clear message is, we stand for something bigger. And consumers want to know that. Of all the people I interviewed, there was one word that kept coming up over and over again. And I think it's wonderful, because it was the big word in the panel discussion we just had too, and that is trust. There's a PR professional in Washington, D.C. who shares every piece of content that I write, even if she doesn't read it. And I'm thinking, why would you do this? What if I have a bad day? And she said, I share your content every day, and I gladly do it with my audience, with my friends, and even my family, because I trust you. You have never let me down. Not one time, not one blog post, not one video, not one interview, not one book. You have never let me down. And this is what makes me sad. Trust is a point of differentiation today. We see so many companies screwing it up, letting us down. And I think that radical honesty, absolute trust, this is a way to stand out today. Aren't you waiting for a company to say, I will never let you down. I will never let you down.